Hey, what's up, everybody? We got some green today. Look at this. Theta's up 7%, SHIB is up 7%, XLM's up almost 3%, NIR's up almost 6%, XRP about 2%, TIA about 3%, CRV almost 6%. I mean, it's pretty good today. So, what's Bitcoin? Bitcoin's at three and a quarter. So let's check it out. By the way, today's the big day. Please, if you can, if you're in the United States, go out and vote. I don't care who you vote for, just vote. Make your voice heard for what you believe is right, what you believe is true. For me, I'm voting for Trump because I'm mostly about crypto, right? I mean, I want a strong border, I want low taxes, I want low inflation, but aside from all those things, it's mostly about crypto for me because
On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
look at that room full of crypto enthusiasts. I mean, it just doesn't get any more real than that. I think we have a very bright future for crypto. Obviously, we need him to win. And I think crypto is going to do well either way, but it's going to do a lot better under Trump because he's going to move the needle a lot faster when it comes to regulations and cleaning out the SEC and things like that. So, and also the economy, right? If the economy is going to continue to go down, especially under Kamala, we're not only going to see crypto struggle, but we're going to see liquidity exit the markets and flee into safety, right? So, I mean, crypto is a risk asset. And in order to turn the button, flip the switch, risk on, we need a stable environment. I think, with Trump in there, I think that's going to be the case. So we'll see how it plays out. I believe my prediction is Trump's going to win. I don't believe the polls. I mean, they were dead wrong in 2016, and in 2020 they didn't want that to happen again, so they cheated like crazy, right? Total election fraud in 2020, and my prediction is that evidence is still locked up, and or it's still gonna be displayed in front of a grand jury at some point. I believe the last several elections will be looked at forensically. So the prediction for today, obviously Trump's going to win, but they might play something. I mean, it doesn't have to happen today. It could happen several days after, but they're probably going to come out and they're going to say something. It could be election interference from a country, maybe Russia, North Korea. It could be a cyber attack. It could be something. But that's why they're monitoring it. If it's not going to go their way, if they feel like this is desperation, I think that's when they're gonna, because they have contingency plans, right? The deep state, they have contingency plans on certain things if they don't go their way. So all I'm saying is, whatever happens, it's gonna be chaotic to some extent. So, but if they can get their election rigging machine turned all the way up and outperform Donald Trump's authentic vote, then what we're going to see is a lot of social media involving election fraud. And I think it's going to be both. I think, there's going to be a lot of people sharing videos, pictures, testimonials, stories about election fraud. You're going to see it in the weeks and the days and the weeks after the election. So if Kamala wins, I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of videos and pictures and testimonies coming out saying, look how bad they cheated, right? If Trump wins, they're going to come out and they're going to say, oh, there was election interference, election, a cyber attack or something like that. So either way, we're going to have a chaotic situation. That's all I'm saying. So hopefully I'm wrong and it's a clean sweep. Trump wins all the swing states and maybe he can even flip New York red. I mean, that would be amazing if he could do that. Honestly, I think he did that in 2016. But when you start getting into like New York and California and the big, big, big cities, it's really hard because you have so many illegals, you have so much fraud, you have so many shady people around. So it's a little bit twisted. That's why we need voter ID. That's why they don't want voter ID. That's why they want the border open, right? So I mean, it's clear as day. So, anyways, that's enough of that. I promised myself I would only talk about it for 5 minutes. So, all right, let's move on to crypto here. So, you know, it's kind of doing what we thought it would do, which is eventually, right? This when once this wave was finished, right? We were looking at it going into a B wave. So let's talk about that. All right. So obviously, we're looking at this as either a 1-2-1-2 or a diagonal, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So if that's the case, we have 5 waves. We're going to want to see it to start flagging out in here. And then once it's done, we expect a monster move to the upside. I mean, pretty massive. So that's basically the idea. The other idea is to say that this is a 1 and this is a 2. It's an expanded flat. And this is a 3. This is a 4, right? Or I'm sorry. This is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 1, this is a 2, and this is another 1, 2. So a 1-2-1-2 setup is very, very bullish, right? So we don't know if this is another 1-2 or if it's a 1-2 of the third wave, right? So if it is, then we should see either, for example, like an ABC, and then we go up into that monster third wave, right? Or, you know, let's say Trump wins tonight and then like it starts to flag out a little bit and then all of a sudden, boom, we just take off like a madman. If that's the case, then that's a 1-2-1-2, right? So, we're going to have to really pay attention here. It's going to be a little bit difficult because I'm going to be watching the election. I'm also going to be watching the chart. So it's going to be, it's going to be kind of interesting day. But I don't think this is just going to come out and break out. I hope it does, but I don't think that's the case. What I think is going on here is that this is a 1-2, and then we have a 3, a 4, and a 5, and 4 can be a flat as well, but either way, it's a 5-wave move. And then we have A, B, and C. If we get a move like this, then I'm going to look at it as a B wave, right? And then from there, we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would look at it as a big A, B, C, and then continue up later on. So, we're going to have to see. Let's put the retracement on here. And we're going to get to the altcoins. I'm going to show you a few things that I found on the altcoins. So we're right at the 50 here. I'd like to see us get a little bit higher. So it's all going to be about how the wave moves up. Does it move up impulsively? So far it is. It's moving up nice and impulsively. It took out this liquidity and this liquidity here. So if we start coming back down like this, and then we start moving back up like this, then what that's going to do is it's going to look like a B wave, and it's going to look like we need more downside, right? But if we move up, a little bit like this, and we kind of flag out a little bit, hit the high, maybe flag out a little bit more, hit the high, then it's going to look more like, an impulse, right? And then from there, we want to see an ABC. We want to see it flagging out a little bit, consolidating, but in a corrective form, not in a form like this, right? We want to see it, nice and corrective. If we get that type of setup, then I'm expecting it obviously to move higher, right? You got to rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. You kind of go sideways a little bit, breakout. So that's basically what is going on here. So we're moving on our way up, right? Obviously we have point A, point B, and now what are we doing? We're moving into point C, right? Into the middle. And then from there we can figure out, because when we get into the retracement levels, that's always the most challenging spot. But when you look at this on the face of it, what do you see? We're trending higher, guys. We have a low, right? We have a high. We have a higher low, we have a higher high. We have a higher low, we have a higher high. We have a higher low, we have a higher high. And now look at this. We have a higher low. So let's see if we can get a higher high. If not, right, A, B, C, if we get something like that, maybe we can get a higher high. But if we start breaking this and this high, right, then that's going to tell me that, this is probably, needs to pull back. It needs to flag out a little bit, right? Because again, when we have higher highs and higher lows, eventually that trend will break, and you can see we're basically channeling to the upside. So the thing about an ascending channel is, yes, they can break out, but a lot of times, they break to the downside, not because it's bearish, but because it's resetting the momentum to continue much higher, right? So we have to look at it like that. So anyways, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Let's zoom out to the daily chart. Remember, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin because of this wave structure, right? Where, you have to look at it from, a regression trend perspective. So if I take this and I go all the way down, there we go. So you can see, let me go out a little bit further here. And if I go all the way, you can kind of see it like that. So I'm actually going to put it right there. It looks nice and clean. And what you notice is, we were building building a base down in here, building support rather, and coming up to the mean. I mean, you can see how perfect this channel looks because of the mean here. You can see the middle line acts really nicely. Once we broke above that, right, we came down, we retested the mean right here. So this line, I need to put an actual line there so we can see right there. Yeah, you can see this point in here, this point in here, this point in here, right? So it looks really good. So we came down, we back tested it, and then we came up, we broke above this right here, right? We broke above it, we back tested it, and then we made another high, and now we're sort of consolidating here. So, what does that mean? Well, to me, I would like to see, let me put another line right there, and I'll just drag it out a little bit. What I would like to see is this for just to flag out in here, flag out a little bit, kind of reset that momentum, consolidate, and then break out. But if we have to come back into the channel, right, for example, like A, B, C, we definitely don't want to break this line to the downside. And more importantly, we really want to hold this area right in here, right? So this would be the area that we definitely want to hold to continue that bullish trend. So all in all, it looks great for Bitcoin. Let's keep the momentum going here. Like I said, I think it's a diag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means we probably need a bigger correction here. But if it is a 1, 2, 1, 2, I will be very, very happy. So we'll see about that. All right, so that's it for Bitcoin. Again, we're in a fourth wave. 1, you can see the 2, right, is the same degree as the 4. So we're expecting something, like that, right? So it's going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight, and again, with the election and all that stuff going on, that's the reason I'm bringing it up, because how interesting is it that it's election night and Bitcoin is literally right here chilling at 70K, which is basically, the high. So it looks like it's primed to, I can't get over the wedge though, because when you have a rising wedge, it usually breaks to the downside, right? So what would cause something to break to the downside? Well, if Kamala wins tonight and they cheat like crazy, right? Election fraud, and people realize what's going on, their election is being stolen, it's going to cause panic, it's going to cause fear, it's going to cause selling, right? And it's all happening right at the top here, right at the top of this rising wedge, right? For example, if we had like a falling wedge like this and we were going down, 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 right? And then we had the election, it would look primed to break out. But since we have a rising wedge, it looks primed to break down, right? But just because it breaks down, it doesn't mean it's going down forever. It's just going down to reset itself, right? So that's kind of the way it looks, which unfortunately maybe means, Kamala could overwhelming get the overwhelming vote, which is all. There's no supporters of Kamala. Let's just be clear. It's going to come from voting fraud, right? I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. So, and we're all going to learn this stuff. This is my opinion, right? I'm not saying it's for real, for real. This is not financial advice. For me, I think the truth will come out, and I will be validated one way or another, coming very soon. So let's see how this plays out. But let's move on to the altcoins. So, like I said, Theta, we're right down at support. This is dollar cost averaging areas for me. Although I haven't been buying really a lot lately, except for Theta and XRP, I have been buying. But right now, if we look, let's zoom into the 4-hour chart here. Right, you can see we got a little bit of a bounce. We got a little bit of a bounce there. Kind of looks like a flat. So let's see if we can build a base in here and continue higher. If not, we're going to hit another low. So do I think we're going to hit another low right away? I mean, it's kind of difficult to say. Let's just look at what we know. What we know is we're right at support, and we've been falling for quite a while. So, and we have a 3-wave move here, right? We have a 3-wave move there. It looks kind of like a WXY. It looks like a 3-wave move to the downside. And it could be finished, right? Because, we have 3 waves. We have 3 waves up, and we have 3 waves down. And we're right at support. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit to get a retracement back to the upside, maybe to about $1.20, $1.30, right? Before then reevaluating, right? Because the idea here is that this is potentially a Wyckoff, right? A Wyckoff accumulation where you come up, you come back down, and then you circle around, and then you end up breaking out. So there's your Wyckoff range right in there. So it's all about, this is our spring phase, and it's all about when this wave finishes. So we could get a very quick drop and then it finishes fast. It could be, it could happen a couple different ways. So, but all in all, I think we're still very bullish, for next year, especially 2025. I mean, when you look at 2025, right, obviously we're going to have a new president. If you look at one chart here, right, this is every presidential elections, right? So we have the election, and then bam, we explode. 4 years later, we have the halvening, right? And then we have another election, bam, we explode. 4 years later, we have the halvening, then we have the election, bam, we explode. So here we are 4 years later, right? We have a cup here, we have a cup here, and we have a cup here, right? Here's the breakout right there. Here's the breakout right there. And look where we are. We're right where we're supposed to be, guys. So if that doesn't give us a little bit of a boost, I don't know what will, right? So that's why I feel like we're really close. Now, this is a massive chart, right? I mean, this is not going to happen overnight. It could take a little bit of time to get rolling here. But you can see, like if I zoom in, there's the election right there. And then we kind of went sideways for a little bit and then broke out. And then we had to come all the way back down and back test and then continue higher, right? So let's look at this one. This one, we were already rolling. We were going up before the election, right? So that was interesting. And then the one before that, you can see we pumped right after the election. We flagged out. We continued higher. So all in all, I think, here's the election right now, right? So maybe we flag out a little bit and then we continue higher. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So how does that translate into something like theta? Well, I mean, you can see, right? We got a little bit of a bear flag there, and we're coming back down. So I think this wave's going to finish. Maybe we take out this liquidity, maybe we don't. But I mean, it depends on what schematic we're looking at. So if we're looking at sort of the original one, we can kind of see, this scenario playing out, right? So for example, and I've showed this before and I'll show it again, but essentially we're in this wave right here, right? So, and you can kind of see where we basically took out that liquidity. So we could come down a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and take out this liquidity, even that wick, perhaps. But ultimately, what we want is we want to curl back around rather quickly, right? And then continue higher. And that kind of builds your base. So, and as you can see, like we're right at support right now. So either we're going to get a little bit of a bounce and continue going down. But if we do that, I think it's going to be very short lived, right? I think it's going to be short lived. I mean, you can see, if it is five, for example, then we have one, two, three, four, and then five, right? So four usually bounces right at support. So one, two, three, we're right at support. Then we get four, and then we flush down for five. Then we curl around, right? And then we continue higher. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. If it's finished now, then that's great. Let's start finding some support and then curling back around. I mean, essentially like this, like this. So, I mean, that's really what it is. So, if it's Wyckoff, then great. But if it's not, and it's a fourth wave, so we have, like, for example, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's say we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, okay, even if it's not Wyckoff, it's a 5 wave move. Regardless, it should be finished coming very, very soon. I mean, we're right at the finish line here. So just a little bit further to go. And once that's finished, that's when we start to see the monster move back into the retracement levels, in which I'm expecting either way. So either way, I'm expecting a pretty nice size retracement. So if let's say the bottom's in and we go all the way up, that's 100 and almost 150% move coming up very soon, guys. So how does that sound? 150%, hey, I'll take it. And then we can talk even higher than that. But if I also take a trend-based fib extension from the bottom of this wave to the top of this wave, back down to the bottom, right? I mean, I'm kind of tired of being, dealing with this correction. I want it to go as much as anybody else. But essentially, we have a $6 target coming up very soon. So, once we clear these retracement levels, once this is finished, and we build our base, we break out, you see the gap there, we come down, we fill the gap, and then we work our way back up. Maybe we consolidate a little bit, but then eventually we shoot up and we hit $5 to $6. So I think that's coming probably this spring, going into next year, right? So it should be very interesting. Now, if things get more chaotic and the economy breaks down, financial problems, Kamala Harris victory, it could be extended. And then we would have to look a little bit of a more of a worst case scenario. But I don't want to go there until it actually happens, right? And until we start breaking all of this in here, right? If we start breaking below that, then we can start looking at those options. But I don't really see that at the moment. So, I mean, one reason why is because, you look at SHIB and it looks very bullish. I mean, it kind of looks like we're flagging out in here, right? So it looks like a little bit of a move up, and we're kind of flagging out. Now, again, it could be 3 up, 3 down. So for example, we have 3 up, and then we have 1, 2. This could come down for 3, right? Before going back up. So like a 1, 2, 1, 2 before going back into the retracement levels. But all in all, it looks pretty bullish. So I actually bought some SHIB yesterday. So I made a couple buys yesterday. One of them was SHIB. One of them was IMX. One of them was THETA. And we got XRP, Axelar, and Near. Now these are very short-term, small trades, right? This is nothing big. These are these are kind of like in and out trades. So just FYI. So you could see, like, for example, TIA. I already closed my TIA. I mean, look at this. We had a 3-wave move down, and now we're just dumping hard. So, and that's kind of what I'm expecting here. I mean, look at XRP just had a big dump, right? So, you know, that's why I'm just getting in, get out fast. I mean, that's just kind of what you need to do. Now, for a couple of them, like maybe Near, I'm kind of holding on. I'm kind of waiting. I like the way it moved up. I took a little bit of profit, but I want to see how it comes down. I want to see if we can back test. Maybe I'll add. Maybe we get a retrace and then I can let it go. Or if it looks a little bit more impulsive, maybe we can get up for another wave. So it's kind of like waiting and seeing. But if we start to, like, for example, just dump and dump and dump, then, you know, you got no choice but to cut the trade, right? So, I mean, same thing with SHIB. You can see a little bit, you know, we were kind of bottlenecking. We hit the high, and then we had this 3-wave move down. Let's see if we can, you know, it looks like A, B, and C. You know, we have a 3-wave move, right? So anytime you get 3, you got to be cautious. So we could get 3 down before going up, or we have to really pay attention in here to see how it plays out, you know, just for short-term stuff, nothing super significant. So let's go to the daily here. I mean, it still looks nice. Look at the daily candle. I mean, it pulled back quite a bit, but it still looks okay, right? You can see we're still holding support nicely, right? We're sort of coiling in here. So let's see, are we going to break out or are we going to break down, right? I mean, that's kind of the deal here. So if Bitcoin goes into that diagonal, I think this is going to be an A, a B, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C. So A, B, C, right? That's what I'm thinking here. And then we go higher. So I feel like we got some more downside to go. But if it's not, and it's a 1, 2, 1, 2, and, you know, we have a big blowout, then I can see this being like an A, B, a C, sort of a running flat. And this is a 1, this is a 2, and now this is like 1, 2 of the third, and then we start pumping. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, you know, it's kind of like one of those wait and see situations. Going back to THETA, again, you know, it's right back at the bottom here. You can see, let's look at the 4-hour real quick. You know, we do have 1, 2, and you can say 3, 4, and 5. I mean, you can say that, right? Or you can say that this is a 3-way move, and that's kind of like boom, 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 right? Or, yeah, so there's your B wave. Or actually, I would put it here. And then you have, that looks like 5 to me. So since this is 5, it just makes sense that we get another one down. So, and that would fulfill, you know, that would make sense under the Wyckoff that we were looking at. So let's go to IMX here. I mean, IMX got beat up pretty badly. That's why I took a stab at it. We had bullish divergence very strongly here. So they did get a Wells notice by the SEC. But again, if Gary Gensler gets fired and they clean house, maybe it doesn't go all the way. Because, you know, these crypto blockchain companies, they're just trying to be innovators. They're trying to create things that, you know, technology, right? It's It's basically data. I mean, it's basically a technology. So why continue to go after them and sue them and sue them and sue them? Instead, just lay down the groundwork, lay down the regulation, lay down the law. That way they know how to operate, right? So instead of trying to guess what it's what's going on here. But you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 extended fifth, right? We're right back at support. So at the very least, this is going to hit the low again, or we're going to come up and make a retracement, then revisit the low. So I think we're probably going to make a little bit of a retracement here with IMX, just because, I mean, it looks pretty bullish right now, honestly. You're very oversold. You have divergence. You're sort of creating a base. You're consolidating. So let's look at the 20-minute chart here. I mean, the 20-minute, yeah, it doesn't look as nice, but you still have this, right? And you kind of made a little bit of a three-way move here. Let's maybe flag out a little bit, and let's see if we can make this like a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder. Okay, I like that. So I think what we're doing here is pulling back a little bit for that right shoulder. Let's look at XRP. XRP had a little bit of a dump on the 20-minute chart as well. I mean, XRP is a little bit tougher. It's actually a lot tougher right now. So I see 3, right? I see 3 down. So we could get 3 down like this to match this wave, right? Unless we get something like this where we get 3 down and then it becomes a flat. And then we get 5 up and it becomes like a 3 wave like that. So then it becomes A, B, and then C, right? So it's still a little early to tell for XRP. So we got to zoom out. I'm not really going to jump into XRP too much, but you got a little bit of a falling wedge there. Let's see if we can break out of it, right? So that's basically it on XRP. I mean, it looks nice. Look at that 4-hour candle. The 4-hour candle just closed right about 10 minutes ago, and this 4-hour candle's brand new, and look, it's pumping pretty nicely. What's going on here? Let me go back to the 5-minute. Whoa, what is going on? Look at that. You had a big, huge dump, and now you're just screaming back. So to me, it looks like a little bit of a retracement. I think we're going to have to come back down here. I don't think it's just going to rip. I mean, it could, but I just, it went down so fast, right? It just seems like, it crashed so fast that it rebounded just as fast. So you got to be careful with things like that. Again, it's election day. It's going to be volatile, right? Not only that, it's in the middle of the week too. So let's keep moving forward. THETA. We just looked at this one. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. I'm trying to keep the video a little bit shorter. I just don't like THETA because it's bottlenecking. I don't like that. Anytime you have a wave like this and then you drop in and then you bottleneck like that, a lot of times you just dump. But the good thing is once you dump and once it's finished, it's done. It's over. And then you start working your way back to the retracement levels. So that's my guess. That's what I'm thinking here for THETA based on just simple wave structure. Not only that, but what's really nice about it is that this can still turn around and be, maybe we go a little bit lower, right? And if we do have that capitulation, whatever, right? Because you can see, look at this right here, right? So if I take a line and I'm going to put it right there, that's where I think we're probably heading. And you can see, here's the shoulder, right? That nailed it there. Here's the head that nailed it there, right? Or a little bit lower, right? And then you have this 3-wave move here. Maybe we go down a little bit more, right? And it'll look like kind of a little bit of a ugly looking inverse head and shoulders. So But what I really like about it is that three-wave move. But I just don't feel like it's finished yet. CRV looks like a falling wedge here. You see, this is what I like. This is what I like. I like how we get impulses, right? And then we start flagging out, or better yet, you kind of get like a tight falling wedge. And usually what happens is these falling wedges break out and they go right back to the top. So that's my belief. That's what I think is going to happen here. Now, that doesn't mean the bottom's in yet. We could hit another low, maybe another low, but eventually we need to see some evidence here that we can flip around. So I would say, I think it's like 70% of the time they break to the upside, but you still have that, 40% that it could break to the downside, or 30% rather. So, um, you know, it's kind of like a wait and see thing for Bitcoin, to see what happens there. But yeah, and again, same thing with XRP. We're kind of coiling in here. I'd like to see a retracement. So if you look at Bohm here, and we look at it as a crashing structure, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you roll back up into wave 6 right there, and then you set wave 7, and then you come up, and then you flag out, and then you go crazy. So that's a typical crashing structure right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, break out, flag out, and then continue higher. So that's a very clear idea that is possible, and it makes sense according to what Bitcoin's doing and things like that. So for Bitcoin, this is what it looks like, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this has a little bit more. It has 7 actually, but we want to see it break the trend line, and then we want to see it retest it. And if it does that, then we can confirm the short. One of the problems with the rising wedge too is it doesn't have a lot of good touch points. So it's a little bit subjective on how you do it, right? I mean, you can kind of do it like this, or you could try to connect them down in here. So it's a little bit interesting, right? So we could make our way back down here, right, and still hold the trend, and then maybe one more push up, come down, right, and then we come up and we retest it as resistance. That's how you know, right? That's why we need to let it play out. That's how you know it's probably going to come down ABC somewhere around here before then going higher, right? Another thing you could do is kind of take like a measurement from here, right? And then let's say we break out, or let's say we break a little bit higher right there. You could see that would be 54,000 all the way back down to here. And that would be a little bit disheartening, right? So if it's a rising wedge and a diagonal is a little bit different. So a diagonal you kind of want right there. A rising wedge, you want to measure it, the measured move, right? So we'll see. Also, too, if you put a trend line here, you can see point there, point there, point there, point there, right? We broke above, we tested it, and then we tested it. So let's see if this line holds. That'll be interesting to see if this line holds. If it does, then I'm more inclined to say a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have ABC 2, right? And then we have that third wave, 4 and 5. So I mean, very, very, very much on the table. So that this is like the inflection point right here. All right, so total 3, right? You could see 3 waves up, and then you see this flat here, right? So anytime you get some kind of flat like that, you want to see a little bit of a retracement. If we get a retracement and we get stuck, then we can start to see it come down, and then you get a bigger 3-wave move down. But ultimately, once that 3-wave move is finished, maybe it finishes down in here, right? And then we build our base, we start wrapping around here and then breaking out. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Right? So if this is a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and then we start breaking out of here, then I'm looking at it much differently, right? Then we can look at it as like a standard retracement, right? So we have a channel, we broke out, and then let's see what happens after that. Maybe we flag out and continue higher, right? Of course, if Bitcoin does. And one of the reasons I'm not entirely bearish, like we're going to keep going down, is because when you look at something like Dogecoin, I mean, look at it. I mean, we had like a 1 2 1 2. I mean, this looks a lot like a 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2, and it looks like a 1 2 3 4 5, right? And then we probably get an ABC, and then maybe even continue. It looks like it's revving up, is what I'm saying. So you have the sell side of the curve, and then you have the base, and then you have the buy side of the curve. You could see how it's rounding out of there, right? So if we're getting indications from meme coins, then that could be a leading indicator on some of these other coins, right? Which means the light at the end of the tunnel is near. Like, for example, also like fetch, you have 1 2 3 4 5, and then you have ABC, right? You have a three-way move down. You came right back to support right in here, right? So let's see if we can get a retracement. Number one, it could turn into a bigger ABC, or if it's finished now, we can kind of get up here and flag out and then continue higher, maybe like a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders. So, I mean, there's definitely ideas on the table, and there's a lot of things to look for. So I don't know about you, but I'm very, very excited for the future of crypto, and really for a lot of things. So, especially crypto, I think, as we get regulations, as we get all of these things in line, we can really see crypto adoption take place, because the rest of the world is not going to wait. They're not going to sit around and wait, but they are going to take notice, right? And I think that technology will prevail, and there's no other solution to fix the world's financial problems. All the problems we see today around the world are all about money. The problem is our money system is broken, right? And people say, "Oh, how are you going to fix the economy, Trump? How are you going to fix the economy, Kamala?" Right? They basically, what they're doing is, here's the economy right here, right? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring the economy up, right? But and they're basically taking their policies and putting them inside the economy to make them rise. But the economy is built on the banking system, right? The central banks, basically the whole monetary system. So if this is cracking, and this is getting all, there's cracks in it, right? You can only do so much, right? So I know, like a president, they can help fix the economy, but it really is the system in which the economy is built on. That's the problem, right? The economy wants to flourish, the economy wants to thrive, but it can't do so if the money system is broken. And that's why crypto is so very important, right? Listen to this. You probably have already seen it, maybe, but Trump to pay debt in crypto. Trump speculates on the potential for crypto to basically pay off the national debt, 35 trillion. Listen to this.
I'm curious what you think the future of crypto looks like if, God forbid, you don't win the election. Future of crypto? What is it? Well, I think it's a good future. Who knows about anything today? But I think it's a good future. I tell you what, you look at values, you look at what's happening and where it's come and where it came from. I think crypto's got a great future. I think it really does.
There you go.
Maybe we'll pay off the $35 trillion in crypto.
Whoa. Wow. I mean, people don't really take him seriously, but he floats little ideas out, and it kind of implants into your subconscious, right? So he doesn't come out and say, oh, I'm going to do this, because then it makes it like real. What he does is he kind of like floats, he kind of gives you little subtle hints. I think that's what's going to happen, right? We're $35 trillion in debt. How do we get out of the debt? We can't pay it back. There's no way. So how do you do it? You can either pay it off with using gold, or you can pay it off using crypto, right? We have the national stockpile. So, or you basically say, look, I don't want anything to do with the debt. We're going to default on the debt. We're not going to pay the debt back because we can't, because your system is a scam. We're not obligated to pay back $35 trillion because you scammed us, right? And an audit of the Federal Reserve will show, right? It will show most likely a lot of corruption, right? And even Trump said it's so important to audit the Federal Reserve, right? And actually, Ted Cruz did has an audit the Fed bill, surprisingly. So this was back in 2016, before he was president, right? Before optics were very, very important. So, you know what I mean? So the biggest threat is the Federal Reserve. I mean, it really is, and he says it too. Trump calls Federal Reserve my biggest threat. Guys, it's not a. I mean, look, the border, the taxes, all these issues that they talk about. Yeah. It's great, but the real problem, and then they talk about inflation. But look, inflation is just a symptom of the dying system, right? If I have COVID and I have a cough and I'm coughing, I don't blame the cough. I blame COVID. The cough is just a symptom of COVID. Inflation is just a symptom of a dying banking system, right? It's a totally corrupt enslavement type of system. That's why I urge everyone to go to YouTube right now and type in the Money Masters documentary. Watch that documentary. It'll completely blow your mind. I promise you. If you're not totally like jaw dropped, right? It is insane. It is long. It is kind of old schoolish, but it's very, very interesting. And it is history. It goes into the history of the banking system, right? All the way back to Andrew Jackson, even before him, right? So I think the whole idea for Trump is this whole thing that we've seen since the rise of Trump, right? Everything we've seen is all leading to what? The central bank. And you might not see it. You might like, nah, it's not that. It's Kamala, it's Joe Biden, it's Obama, it's the Democrats. It's everything Trump says. Trump doesn't talk about the banks. It's not that. No, it is that. And we're all going to see that very soon, probably within the next 4 years, we're going to see him go head to head with the Fed, right? It's all going to boil down to Trump versus the Federal Reserve. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but that's what my prediction is. It's going to be him going up against the Fed. That's why we need him. That's the number one reason that I want him to get elected, is because of the Federal Reserve, the central banking fiat currency, debt enslavement system, and crypto, right? Because crypto and gold is the solution, is the weapon to destroy the central banks, because right, there's no alternative, right? We're subjected to use the banking system, the dollar, right? There's no alternative. Now we have alternative currency, aka altcoins, aka crypto, right? So we can take that and we can basically opt out of the banking system. Basically, I'm taking my dollars and I'm transitioning them into crypto, right? So that's my whole goal, is to de-dollarize. Because if you look at China, Russia, Brazil, if you look at the BRICS nations, they're basically going against the dollar. And the dollar is the problem in the first place. And people go, oh, it's the US dollar. We need the US dollar. Yes, but it's actually a Federal Reserve debt note. It's not actually a United States dollar, right? It's created by the Fed. So what we need is a national bank, right? We don't want a private bank that dictates monetary policy using a scam fiat system. What we want is a national bank through the U.S. Treasury, through elected officials, right? That can basically lead into the financial system, but we really want it to be completely decentralized. I don't want to have to trust another human being for the sake of our economy, right? We shouldn't have to trust. Like Bitcoin is trustless. Like I don't have to worry about it, right? Like I send Bitcoin, I buy Bitcoin. It's simple. I don't have to, no one can go in there and hack it and destroy it, right? So, when Trump asked Elon, well, what's the best way to vote? And Elon says, well, paper ballots. And he says, there's no other way. He said, yeah, every computer can get hacked into. But I disagree with that. If we have quantum computing, right, that's very hard to crack into, by the way. But if we had some form of blockchain voting system where everything is, decentralized, we can see it, right? That's why hackers who steal crypto, they don't really get away with it because they take your crypto and then what do they do with it? They have to send it to an exchange and you can see all the transactions. You can see where it gets sent from, right? And then you can see where they cash out. So, the on and off ramp is hard. I mean, they can hodl it in their wallet and they'll never know about it, but eventually they're going to want to sell it. And when they do, they get busted. So crypto is, it's not perfect, but as we progress as this technology sector progresses, it's only going to get better and better and better. So all I'm saying is vote for Trump. Let's rebuild our economy, but also you can't fix, it's like you're fixing a car, right? But if the road is destroyed, you can't drive the car anyway, right? So Trump can build the engine, he can build the car, but if we don't fix the road, we're never going to get out of there, right? So the road is the money system, the financial system, and that's what needs to be fixed. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of all the issues we see today. It all revolves around money all of the time. And the ultimate form of money is crypto. So it's like we are in the middle of human history here. And that's one of the reasons I like XRP so much, because XRP was specifically designed to solve a lot of these problems. And I'm not going to get into all that right now, but this is history right here, right? So if you can go out and vote, make your voice heard, vote straight Republican. I mean, that's what I'm doing. I mean, I don't trust these Democrats as far as I can throw them. Not even close. I mean, they're bought and paid for, right? They're all these, a lot of both sides, right? Both sides of the aisle are bought and paid for a lot of different things. But I mean, we really don't have much choice at this point. So, but anyways, I think that'll do it for this video. Real quick, also on ADA, I'm liking the way it's consolidating right in here. So I think, it's real tight, like kind of like Filecoin. You got a three-way move down. This is the weekly chart. You kind of want it to curl around. I mean, it looks like the other Wyckoff scenarios, but so when we look at the here's what I want to show you. When we look at the retracement levels, right, on a lot of these altcoins, like let's say we get to the 618, okay? Let's say if Bitcoin breaks out when we get to the 618 and we measure that from here, that is about, we'll say 80 to 90%, okay? So if I go to Bitcoin and I go up 80%, that will take me, wow, that's going to take me about $125,000. So I think that's all we have. I think that's all we have with Bitcoin is about 100 to 125K. Could it go higher? Yeah, it could go to 150K, right? But that's kind of what I'm looking at here, especially when we look at the fib retracement here. I mean, the 2618 comes at 112, the 4.236 comes at 150. That's kind of a stretch. So what I'm saying is if Bitcoin breaks out into a new all-time high and goes all the way to 80, 90, 100K, even 110, even 115, even 120K, That's just like, let's go to theta, for example. If we go to theta, right, and we take a fib retracement here, and we go all the way down, and then we take a measurement, because it's all about percentages from where we are here. We go up to the 618. Look at that. That's 145%. So which one would you rather hold? Bitcoin or theta? Yes, theta could have more downside, but that's only going to increase its percentages later on, right? So that's why I'm very bullish. That's why I'm very excited, because if Bitcoin breaks out, which I believe it will, altcoins are going to get a retracement. That is my main call. I got it right here when we were at 64 cents. I called for a retracement. We got it. It was a little bit less than I would like, but essentially we made it to that halfway point, which is technically there, right? So now we're consolidating here. Now my next call is we're going to make a retracement back to the upside. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight, right? Again, we could come down a little bit more, but ultimately, once it's finished, we're going to have 150% move on the horizon coming up soon. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, maybe I might make a video later on, and I can share what I'm finding in regards to the election, or even maybe a price update. So, but anyways, that'll do it for this video. May God bless America and God bless crypto. And let's just cross our fingers and hope for the best, because it really gets decided this week, right? And so anyways, that'll do it for this video. Make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section. Who do you think's going to win? Kamala? Do you think Trump's going to win? Do you think we're doing Wyckoff? Do you think we're going to get a retracement? Do you think Bitcoin has to flag out? And let me know, like, are you in the United States? I know I know most, I would presume, are. What state are you coming from? So where are you guys at? For me, I'm in California, and California is predominantly blue all the time. I think a lot of it has to do with corruption and things like that. But because when I live in California, I talk to a lot of people, and they all are sick and tired of the Democrats, and they have been for a long time. So I just can't see how we keep voting blue over and over unless it's not rigged in some way. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. So anyway, California for Trump. That's how I see it. But I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.